I'm Tom Grossi, a New York City comedian and diehard Green Bay Packers fan for almost 20 years. In 2015, I created a podcast where each week I talk to fans from opposing teams to share their story and to get yelled at for about an hour for being a Packers fan. Last year, I met amazing people and went to amazing places. And this year, I'm ready to do it all over again.
Make no mistake about it, I will be remembered as a Packer.
Enjoy the show. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Well, this is my last episode of Packcast for all of the millions of dollars that poured in because of the Brandon Perna episode from last week. So sayonara, never see... What? We didn't make it... What do you mean we made no money? We lost money. Welcome to Packcast, everybody, the podcast where you don't need to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I am your host, Tom Grossi, who would never, ever leave you, ever, unless he became really rich and famous, and then I would leave you. But that's never going to happen. So, let's get down and talk about some football. Well, as I predicted, last week we had Brandon Perna, our Broncos fan, on from last season. You absolutely loved last year's episode, and it seems like we have a repeat success. You really dug into it. Love having Brandon on. It's always a pleasure. And I'm glad that the reception has been wonderful for this year's episode as well. This was actually a relaxing weekend. The bye week is always interesting because I feel like colors are brighter. I have less stress in my life. Like, the relationship with my wife is even better. And it actually just so perfectly happened to land on my 1-year anniversary, which was on Sunday. So, I didn't have to worry about any football. I didn't have to pretend to love her more than the Packers because the Packers weren't on. So thank you, schedule maker. You saved my marriage. You did well. So yeah, it was a nice week to kind of just relax, put on Red Zone, not really worry about anything except my fantasy football. It was a nice change of pace. Some of the big headlines that come out of week 4. One, I know it has nothing to do with the NFC, but the Patriots getting shut out 16-0 by the Bills. Big surprise there. I certainly wasn't expecting that, but the Browns have to contend with a very angry Tom Brady coming back next week. I'm sure that they will do great against Tom Brady. Also, Carolina losing again. And it wasn't just that they lost, it was how they lost. Matt Ryan destroyed that secondary. Julio Jones, over 300 yards, destroyed that secondary. Atlanta beats Carolina. And you have to wonder, is Carolina going to start slipping? Cam Newton, of course, left the game with a concussion. And listen, I got a lot of flack for this last year. I gave the Panthers a lot of crap. I didn't think that they were a real team. They obviously proved me wrong. They went to the Super Bowl. But it's just one of those things that I think their defensive line is good. Of course, you have Luke Kuechly on that team, so your linebacker core is good. But they lost Josh Norman. That's a big loss. And the offense, Jonathan Stewart, not really looking that great. That offensive line can't stop a good defense. I mean, Cam is getting smacked around. If I'm not mistaken, he's the most hit quarterback in the NFL right now. So he took a lot of punishment as well. So it'll be interesting to see if there's going to be a power shift, especially if Cam Newton is out for a significant amount of time. You also had the Bears getting their first win. Look at you. Look at you guys go. You go, Bears. Beating the Detroit Lions, which actually helps out the Packers because it knocks the Lions down even more a peg. So good. You guys have a competition with each other. We're going to be looking at the Vikings. The Cardinals also losing again to the Rams. So the Cardinals First losing to the Bills, shockingly, and now losing to the Rams. Not a really great start to the Cardinals season. I know that there was a lot of hype going into this season about them. Larry Fitz, of course, announcing that he's probably going to retire at the end of the season. I know that he would have wanted a better start, but again, I don't think that they're out of it. I think they'll be in playoff contention because they are still a fantastic team. For a little bit, it looked like the Jets might beat the Seahawks, and I was very, very happy. And then Ryan Fitzpatrick was like, I'm just kidding, guys. I'm gonna throw more interceptions. And he did just that. And I have to think, like, I know we're not going to talk about the Jets here, but if you're the Jets and you're a Jets fan, you have to be like calling for Geno Smith now, because I read the stats. In the past 2 weeks, it's been 1 touchdown and 9 interceptions, and that hasn't happened for a very, very long time. So you have to think that there's going to be a changing of the guard, especially it being in New York, in which the Jets and Jets fans and organizations have no problem calling for people's heads. I would not be surprised if you start getting Geno chants filling MetLife Stadium, but we'll get to that. There's also some potential, too, that came out that Brian Hoyer might keep the Bears QB job. I mean, we'll see how that goes. Jay Cutler, of course, is out as of right now. Would be very interesting. I don't really see Brian Hoyer being a permanent solution to any of the Bears' problems. But we'll see. Of course, you have Jeremy Langford, who's out 6 to 8 weeks as well, which hurts my fantasy league, but also it hurts the Bears' offense. Kevin White looked like he had some sparks as well. Eddie Royal's getting back into it. So we'll kind of see where the Bears are going. I feel like this is a weird transitional year for them. But when we talk to a Bears fan in a couple weeks, we'll ask them. And speaking of Brandon Perna, Simeon, of course, got injured with a shoulder injury. He got pulled out. Paxton Lynch comes in, and people are already talking like, ooh, this kid looks good. The Broncos have come out, Simeon, if he can play, he's the starting QB. He's not losing any jobs or anything like that. I feel like this is just such a snap reaction league of just like, oh, he got hurt for 5 minutes and someone else came in and looked good for a couple drives. Put him in now forever. Calm down. Slow your roll, especially if you're a Broncos fan and you're calling for that. Slow your roll. Calm down. You're 4-0. Simeon has led you to a 4-0 with, of course, that amazing defense. Just enjoy what you have. And speaking of defense, the Packers bye week did wind up coming at a great time. Clay Matthews, Dayton Jones, Morgan Burnett, LaTroy Guion is back. They're all back in practice, so it looks like they're going to be able to play on Sunday night, which the Sunday night game against the Giants shaping up to be an interesting one. The big news, of course, is that Sam Shields is still out dealing with the concussion, and I mentioned it before on this podcast, is I'm worried about the guy because he's been suffering a bunch of concussions. I love Sam Shields as a player. I would love if he could keep playing, but there gets to a point where it's like, okay, you got to also look out for your well-being. And I'm sure he knows that. He doesn't need to listen to me to do that. But it's just concerning because he is the best secondary that we have. And the Packers are a different team when he's on the field. So really, really hoping that Sam Shields is able to kind of bounce back from this and still have an amazing career. So it's good news in that 4 out of the 5 guys that were injured are back on defense. I'm looking forward to Sam Shields. The thing that really worries me about the Giants game is their receiving core, because you have Victor Cruz, of course you have OBJ when he's not getting hit in the face with a kicking post, and you also have Shepard, who's looking really good as well. And considering that we've given up a bunch of yards to receivers as of late, I'm a little worried about that, but we'll talk about that with the Giants fan on Thursday. Speaking of Giants fans, I actually went on the Giants subreddit today earlier and kind of was like, who would like to come on the show? And I got swarmed. I'm actually still going through applicants, so whoever you hear on Thursday, they were rightfully picked because they just have a rabid fan base. And if they've ever listened to the show before, I have bashed the Giants a couple times. So that might get a little awkward on here. Because being from New York, it's actually going to finally talk to another New York fan. Because we haven't had a Jets fan on here because we have dignity and respect for the show. Speaking of fantasy, and another great week for me. I won in 4 out of my 5 leagues, and I say that I'm really close in 2 of them. I'm pretty sure I'm going to win. And it would have been 5 if Ben Roethlisberger decided not to throw 5 touchdowns last night, but I can't complain too much. So I'm not doing terribly in fantasy this year, and in my 16-man league, I am actually still undefeated. I don't know how that happened, but my running backs wound up being Le'Veon Bell and DeMarco Murray, so that had something to do with it. So I'm very, very happy about that. If you want like a full-blown breakdown of my fantasy teams, let me know. I'll shoot you something on Twitter or something like that. Also, I have to shout out, these YouTube videos have been doing actually better than I thought they were. And that's not kind of like a slight on the show, of course not, or the product, but it's always weird because there's so many mediums in which you could view this show, which would be SoundCloud and iTunes, and it's kind of been split, down the middle. But with YouTube, you guys seem to be enjoying it. You're leaving comments every now and then. I'm enjoying interacting with you. So I appreciate it. I appreciate the support. I'm excited to finally get back into football, even though we've only been gone like a week and I didn't take any time off. I missed my Packers. I missed the heart palpitations and the stress and the pulling my hair and things like that. And plus, it's a Sunday night game, and I have off the next day for Columbus Day, so I can stay up screaming and crying all night. Yeah. So it's a short episode this week, just about 10 minutes, because we didn't have too much to break down. But we will have our Giants fan on Thursday. You can always find me at TomGrossiComedy.com, TomGrossi Comedy, or at Tom Grossi Comedy on Twitter. Packcast, Packast on SoundCloud, iTunes, and of course, every Tuesday we come out with a YouTube episode. If you could do me a huge favor, go on iTunes, find Packcast. People are starting to leave reviews. If you could do that and give this podcast 5 stars, get it up there, get some more notice. There's some big news that we're working on that I can't share with you just yet. But it's all because of you that this happens. This is why I'm here. So again, thank you to each and every week. If you tune in, if you're a fan, if you're just checking it out now, I hope you come back. I will see you on Thursday with the Giants fan. Have a fantastic week. And as always, go Pack Go.